encourage an artist. It costs you fucking nothing. The potential that you reap from it is incalculable. You know what I'm saying? That one pat on the back to somebody sends them off in the right direction to make one day the song, the movie, write the book, the blog, the fucking paint the painting that means something to you. You know what I'm saying? It's all upside when you fucking pat an artist on the back. No downside comes from it unless the artist is Yui Bowl or Kevin Smith. But even there, so you can avoid that shit. It's all upside, man. Always encourage the fucking artist. Nothing bad comes from it, regardless of what people will say or write. Something possibly wonderful kind of comes from it, man. That's why any artist I meet, that's why it's easy to stand up here and talk after movies and shit. Essentially, for about 20 years, I'd come out after the movie, and this is the message, time and time again. It doesn't change. Sometimes the jokes around it change a lot. Sometimes the passion with which I say it changes a lot, but the message has always been the same. If I could fucking do this, oh my God, why the fuck aren't you at least trying? You know, because I'm a chimp, I'm an idiot. You go, oh, stop it, you're talented. No, I'm not. I knew Kevin Smith before he was that Kevin Smith, and he's the exact same person. He's not talented. He just got very lucky and he just applied himself. He applied himself into something that he was very, very passionate about. So for years, I've just been standing up here going like, oh my God, you go do it. Just like that Ratatouille picture, like the fat chef. Anyone can cook. Just like the fat chef, there are a zillion thin critics who are like, you suck at this job. But it don't fucking matter. You know, it's all, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, just like art and shit. So there's no such thing as making a bad movie. It took me 20 years to remember that, or realize that actually. Or really, I was right the first time, remember it. Because I knew it coming in, and then you start playing it safe, and you start getting political and shit. Nobody can ever tell you your art is bad. Nobody can ever tell you your art is wrong. You know how ridiculous that is? Somebody go like, you fucked up in expressing yourself. It's ridiculous. It's a foreign fucking notion. There is no such thing as fucking up in self-expression. You fucked up appreciating it, or something like that. But that always kills me, man. You'll never hear another artist say that to another artist. You'll never hear, I've known many directors, and I've never had any of them say to my face, or as far as I've been heard behind my back, you fucked up, you suck at this. Every artist knows that, like any other artist, no matter what they do, it's self-expression. Whoever made your own man, self-expression. It counts. You know, people want to limit it and be like, that doesn't fucking count. It all counts. Here, man, cop-out counts. Fuck you. Cop-out is an essential step to get to this movie. Without making cop-out, I never could have gotten to Red State. I never would have gotten the means to make Red State. Cop-out opened fucking doors, taught me a lot about marketing and shit. Taught me a lot about whether or not I wanted to be in this business anymore, or whether I wanted to kind of continue in a different direction, something else, or so it was important. You know, it's weird. Some people will dismiss. I think that's why I reacted so poorly when people are like, oh, fuck cop-out. You don't get it. Without cop-out, we don't get to fucking Red State. Red State is going to blow your fucking doors off, man. So sometimes you got to be patient with an artist. Sometimes you're like, I don't like what you're doing lately. Stick around. It's like the weather. It'll change. But let's talk to you guys, to you artists in training and shit. Never mind me. Who's got some questions? Yes.
I gave you a gift because if you would buy.
Oh my God, I found it in my car. There was, when I got in the car after the last show, on the seat was a bomb. It looked like a bomb. It was little yarn, how would you call them? I call them crafts.
Yeah, it's a yarn stuffed animal.
Yarn stuffed animal. Boy, I was dismissive with that craft thing. Sorry, you're like, fuck you, it's not like Lifesaver yarn ornaments, buddy. Like, she made these wonderful little black fishies that had no eyes. We do this podcast called +1 per Diem, and on the show, my wife once made a joke about it. She didn't make a joke, she was fucking serious about it. She read this article, she's like, the fishies have no eyes. And I just made fun of her forever. She made these wonderful yarn dolls of it. So I got in my car, I looked to my right, I was like, what the fuck? There was 2 yarn fishies with no eyes, and I was just like, is this from the Sicilians? But it was a note, it's a very lovely note. And I brought them home to my wife, and she's like, you're so thoughtful. She thought I had a maid, so it was like, well, that's me. I didn't show her your note, I'll show her later.
After making Red State, do you feel that would you have wanted to make a movie like this previous in your career?
Oh, desperately. I always wanted to make a movie like this, but didn't have the wherewithal, the talent, the means to back it up. Sometimes you dream very big, you don't have the talent to live into that fucking dream. But you always keep trying, you always keep trying to up and get. You can sit. I'm about to get long-winded, too. You can up your game, you can practice. Like, I look at this movie as a spiritual sequel to Clerks. A lot of people are like, you're fucking nuts, but here's how I think about it. Even though thematically, tonally, they're not the same at all. Clerks is the movie of an artist, a guy who's just like, I don't give a shit about what's next, I don't give a shit about what came before. This is me fucking putting everything I have into one movie. It was a wonderful shot. If you've ever seen the Star Trek movies, you know in the Next Generation, when they launch the fucking rocket and the Vulcans see it and come to Earth and shit is important? This had nothing to do with that. It always kind of reminded me of it was just like Clerks with the rocket that was just like, hey, Federation, we're smart enough to do it. And fucking I got in because of that. But it wasn't calculated. It was organic. It was like, if I don't make this fucking movie, I'm gonna die. And I did. And fucking put everything, emptied my fucking tank into it, and it produced a fucking career. And the longer you go in a career, the less fucking intense, passionate you are. Because you get middle way, you become about career management. You think about the next job more than the current job. And so you start setting up the next movie while you're working on the first movie or the movie you're working on at the moment. And that's no way to make an art. Make a piece of art, working on something else while working on it in the present. I mean, there's such a thing as multitasking, but that just took me out of the moment. I can't tell you how many movies I watch and I go, oh my God, I forgot we did that. Because you're just rushing to the next fucking moment, setting up whatever comes next. So back in the day, I came in all piss and vinegar. Middle, I got all career management, shit like that, while I was learning my craft at the same time. I'm not a visual storyteller. I don't think like that. I'm a wordsmith, obviously. You give me a mic, I'm like, blah, 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 blah. But if you're like, draw me a picture, I'm like, oh, fuck, please don't ask me to draw a horse. I can't do that. And when it comes to putting pictures together to tell a story, it took me a long fucking time to learn how to do it properly. Clerks wasn't it. Clerks is a very funny, clever kind of entry movie, but doesn't really show you that I know how to make a flick. And that's because I didn't. It took me a long time. I went to film school in front of everybody. That was kind of cool. I got paid to go to film school and make movies that I wanted to make. But the whole time I was just learning my craft. And for a while, I wasn't even trying to learn my craft. I was real obstinate about it, going like, oh, they don't have to look good. They just have to be funny. And they were. But if you're in the fraternity or sorority, you got to lend something to it. You should get better at your craft. And even though fucking I tried not to for years, you just keep doing it eventually, you get better at something. Even if you're not intending to, it's just practice fucking makes perfect. Just like they told us when we were kids, it's fucking true. Practice makes perfect. So you do that for a long time, you accrue some ability to tell a fucking story visually interesting. It took me 20 years to figure out how to do it. But when I look at the movie, it feels like the sequel to Clerks, spiritual, not direct, of course. As I said before, it's like Clerks showed promise. This movie kind of answers that promise, So I couldn't have done this if I wanted to. Fucking 10 years ago, 5 years ago. You know what I'm saying? It just kind of, I was ready. When the people is ready, the master will appear. And I was kind of ready, and Red State was like, let's go. So as much as I was like, oh, I'd always like to make a movie like this, I never could. It just came along at the right time. And with a movie like this, since you're so far outside the box of everything else you've done, though, it's liberating because you're like, fuck it, we don't have to make a Kevin Smith movie this time. Let's just make a movie. And that was kind of cool. Dave Klein, very frustrated DP I have, who's always just stuck making Kevin Smith movies. And he's a brilliant visual stylist. This dude has been thinking in pictures since we met. And I haven't. I've always been thinking in words. And it took us a long time to finally find a balance where, we could communicate and have something come out looking good, or kind of looking like we know what we're doing and shit. So it's neat. It's neat on this movie where I was able to be like, hey man, never mind what we normally do. Because normally people talk to each other, and I always thought overshooting that was kind of showy and ridiculous. Like two people having a conversation, doing a 360 around, to me, pulls me out of the conversation because I'm just aware of the camera work. We did it in Clerks too. Because people used to bitch about me all the time. You never move the fucking camera. I was like, all right, move the camera this time. Move the camera around. Dante and Randall having a conversation. The whole time I watched that scene, I'm like, I wish we just stood still. So I can concentrate on their lips and what they're saying and shit. So Dave, after years of being told, oh, do less on this movie, it was like, hey man, do whatever you want. Like, Dave is strong visual stylist. And for me, for years and years to be like, oh, don't do that, just do this, was essentially like having Gretzky and being like, you're a third line crasher now, and that's it. That doesn't make sense.